In November 1989, just days before the Berlin Wall's collapse, MI6 agent James Gascoigne is pursued through the streets of Berlin. He looks back for his pursuers, but is suddenly struck by a Mercedes-Benz driven by KGB agent Yuri Baktin. Baktin shoots Gascoigne, takes his wristwatch, and throws his body off a bridge into the water below. 10 days later in London, top-level MI6 spy Lorraine Broughton emerges from an ice bath, glances at a photograph of herself and Gascoigne, and burns it. She appears to be recovering from multiple injuries sustained in a previous mission. Lorraine is summoned for a debriefing by MI6 executive Eric Gray and CIA agent Emmett Kursfeld about her recent operation in Berlin. The narrative alternates between the debriefing room and flashbacks to Lorraine's experiences in Germany. The day after Gascoigne's death, Lorraine learns of his murder and his meeting with a German Stasi agent codenamed Spyglass. Gascoigne had promised Spyglass immunity in exchange for a document on microfilm hidden in his Swiss watch, known as the List. This document contains details of every active intelligence officer in Berlin and could prolong the Cold War if it falls into the wrong hands. Eric Gray suspects that Yuri Baktin killed Gascoigne and now possesses the watch. Lorraine is instructed to meet MI6 agent David Percival and locate Yuri. In East Berlin, Spyglass meets Percival at a party and reveals that he gave the List to Gascoigne the previous night, requesting safe passage for his family out of Germany. Percival, not having seen Gascoigne or the watch, claims he has no obligation to fulfill their agreement. The police arrive to raid the party, causing everyone to flee. Spyglass informs Percival that he has memorized the List and can still provide the information in Gascoigne's absence. Percival agrees to help Spyglass and his family escape the country once he delivers the new List. Meanwhile, Lorraine arrives in West Berlin and encounters a man with a British accent who claims Mr. Percival is running late and that he and his associate have been sent to collect her. During the ride, the man reveals he is actually a KGB agent intending to take her to Comrade Alexander Brumovich for questioning. Lorraine fights back using her high heel to incapacitate the man in the back seat, then kicks him out of the moving car and crashes the vehicle. David Percival, who has been tailing them, appears and sarcastically welcomes her to Berlin, prompting Lorraine to shoot at him in irritation.
I'm David.
In East Berlin, Comrade Brumovich is focused on locating Spyglass while suspecting Baktin is attempting to sell the List. He dispatches one of his men to find Baktin. Back in West Berlin, Lorraine hears an intruder in her hotel room and discovers Percival, who she quickly subdues. She questions him about Spyglass, but Percival lies, claiming he has never met him. Lorraine then visits a watchmaker who also serves as an information broker, seeking access to a contact in East Berlin. The watchmaker tells her to return the next day before closing to arrange the meeting. Later that day, Lorraine breaks into Gascoigne's apartment to search for any clues that might help her locate the List. In the debriefing room, it is revealed that in addition to finding the List, Lorraine's mission includes capturing a double agent named Satchel, considered the biggest intelligence leak in MI6 history. While searching the apartment, Lorraine discovers a photo of Percival and Gascoigne, but before she can uncover more information on Satchel or the List, the police arrive. Realizing that Percival, the only person aware of her visit to Gascoigne's apartment, must have tipped off the police, Lorraine fights off the officers and escapes by jumping off the balcony with the help of a rope. That night, Lorraine goes to a Berlin restaurant and encounters Brumovich, but their conversation is interrupted by Delphine Lissel, who pretends she and Lorraine are old acquaintances meaning to catch up. Brumovich leaves and Delphine invites Lorraine to a nightclub the next evening. The following day, Lorraine visits the watchmaker to collect a brown envelope containing details of the contact in East Berlin she requested. Percival, who has been surveilling the watchmaker, overhears their conversation. Back at her hotel, Lorraine dismantles the watch, uses the information inside to decipher a location on the map, disguises herself, and crosses the border to meet the contact. Brumovich quickly learns that Lorraine has crossed into East Berlin and orders his men to capture her. She manages to evade them by hiding in a cinema, setting off a fire alarm and escaping amid the confusion. Lorraine encounters one of Brumovich's men, leading to a fierce brawl where she stabs him in the face with keys, but he remains undeterred. After being kicked through the cinema screen, Lorraine runs and finally makes it outside. She loses Brumovich's men and reaches a rooftop where her contact is waiting. Back in West Berlin, Baktin enters the watchmaker's shop while Percival watches and smiles. Baktin tells the watchmaker he wants to sell a highly valuable watch filled with secrets. Later, Lorraine visits the nightclub Delphine invited her to. They share a kiss before Delphine leads Lorraine to a quiet room in the back. Lorraine takes Delphine's gun and points it at her, demanding to know why she is armed. Delphine reveals she knows Lorraine as MI6 and that she is in Berlin because of Gascoigne's death. Lorraine, angered, asks what Delphine knows about Gascoigne. Delphine admits she has no information about the murder but reveals she is a French intelligence officer who has been in Berlin for only a year and fears meeting the same fate as Gascoigne due to the list. Lorraine lowers the weapon, and the two kiss again before heading back to Delphine's apartment, where their encounter becomes intimate. Delphine reveals she has something important to tell Lorraine about Percival. Lorraine turns on music to prevent anyone from eavesdropping on their conversation. Delphine leans over and whispers in her ear. In the debriefing room, Kurzfeld and Gray listen to a recording of this conversation and question Lorraine about any information Delphine might have provided while the music was playing. Lorraine lies, claiming that Delphine didn't reveal anything significant. Back in Berlin, Percival lures Bacton into an alley, kills him, and takes the wristwatch containing the list. Lorraine meets Kurzfeld at a location overlooking the Berlin Wall, where he gives her a newspaper. Dialing the number in the paper, Lorraine hears a distorted voice saying that Satchel has been compromised. Meanwhile, Percival examines the contents of the list and discovers Satchel's identity. Later, Lorraine meets Percival in a bar, where he inadvertently reveals that he knows Spyglass, contradicting his previous statements. He also tells Lorraine that Spyglass memorized the entire list. They plan to escort Spyglass across the border to West Berlin during a protest march the next day. Percival then meets with Brumovich, hinting that he has valuable information to offer that will keep the balance, but he doesn't provide further details. Lorraine travels to East Berlin and, alongside Percival, meets with her contact to facilitate Spyglass's escape across the border. They provide Spyglass with a new appearance and passport. While attempting to blend into a crowd of protesters, Lorraine and Spyglass are quickly identified by the KGB, who had a sniper aiming at them. Lorraine's contact signals prompt people in the crowd to open their umbrellas, obstructing the sniper's view. Despite this, Spyglass is shot in the stomach by Percival, who reveals himself as the assailant. Lorraine rushes Spyglass to a nearby building in search of medical aid, engaging in combat with KGB agents along the way. Despite being pinned down by gunfire in a room, Lorraine manages to overcome her adversaries. With Spyglass, she escapes the building and flees in a stolen police car, pursued and shot by the KGB. They find temporary refuge next to a river but are struck by another KGB vehicle, causing their car to plunge into the water. As the car sinks, Spyglass's foot becomes trapped, and despite Lorraine's efforts, they are unable to free him before the car submerges completely. After escaping from the sinking car, Lorraine swims to the surface and is found by her contact, who provides her with a blanket to warm up and assists her in crossing the border to West Berlin using a fake passport. Back at her hotel, Lorraine discovers a bug planted in her coat by Percival. When Delphine arrives, Lorraine informs her of Percival's betrayal and shows her the tracking device. Delphine confronts Percival over the phone, leading him to kill her at her apartment just before Lorraine arrives. Discovering an envelope with photos of Percival's meeting with Brumovich at Delphine's place, Lorraine realizes Percival's true nature. Meanwhile, Percival, attempting to flee Berlin, finds his plans thwarted when he discovers his tires slashed. Confronted by Lorraine, he is shot and killed, and she retrieves the watch containing the list from his wrist. In the debriefing room, Lorraine presents Delphine's evidence, framing Percival as Satchel, although she has fabricated audio recordings by splicing conversations. She denies knowledge of the list's location, prompting MI6 to close the case. 3 days later in Paris, Lorraine meets with Brumovich, who addresses her as Comrade Satchel. She hands him the watch, but when he orders his men to kill her, she reveals her identity as a CIA agent, dispatches the KGB, and kills Brumovich. Lorraine and Kurzfeld return to the United States with the list, revealing in conversation that Lorraine has been a triple agent working for the CIA throughout the operation.